All right, so ready for a deep dive? We're tackling Stoicism today with Marcus Aurelius himself.
Oh, a fantastic choice.
We've got excerpts from his Meditations,
His personal journal, essentially.
right, journal,
Yeah.
and we're on this mission to see if you know
Yeah.
if what he was writing about like all those centuries ago, if it still holds up today. You know, like all this stuff about self-control and acceptance,
Right.
finding some kind of peace
Yeah.
in this honestly crazy world. I don't know. What do you think? Can like a Roman emperor from,
Yeah.
way back when
Yeah.
actually be relevant to our lives now?
I think you might be surprised, actually.
Really?
Yeah. What I think is so fascinating about Meditations
Okay.
is that Aurelius, he really grapples with like this really human stuff.
Yeah.
Anxieties, frustration. I mean, honestly, it's so relatable even today.
So it's not just like some, dusty old
Yeah.
philosophy textbook.
No.
It's like we're
we're right there with him.
eavesdropping on like a guy just working through life's,
Absolutely.
big questions.
Exactly. And what I think is so cool is that what he finds in Stoicism, it's not like this abstract theory. It's like a set of tools
Yeah.
for dealing with those big questions.
Okay, so
like, how do these tools work?
one of the, I think, biggest takeaways
Okay.
is this focus on like what we can actually control.
Okay.
He was an emperor,
Yeah.
but he constantly reminds himself that so much is outside of his power.
Okay.
And the key is like focusing on your own thoughts and actions.
Okay. That makes sense.
Yeah.
But I mean, how do you actually do that?
Right.
Like, let's say you're stuck in traffic, totally stressed, late for a meeting.
Yeah.
What would
Right.
what would Aurelius say?
I think he'd probably point out that
Yeah.
the traffic itself,
Yeah.
totally beyond your control.
Okay.
But how you react to it, that's your choice.
Right.
So instead of getting all worked up.
Maybe you use that time to practice some mindfulness or
Okay.
listen to a podcast or, hey, maybe even Aurelius on audiobook.
Yeah.
It's about like shifting your perspective to
Yeah.
what you can actually influence.
So it's not about just like pretending everything's fine. It's
No, not at all.
okay, more about choosing where you direct your energy.
Yeah. And that's where I
Yeah.
think some of the more, how do I put this, memorable parts of Meditations come in.
Okay.
He's got this image of humans as like
Oh, yeah.
a little soul bearing about a corpse, which
Yeah.
I know it's kind of morbid.
Not exactly a feel-good quote.
Right. But
Yeah.
it really gets to the core of this
Okay.
stoic idea that like the body is temporary, right?
Right.
And what really matters is like cultivating your mind, your reason, that
Yeah.
soul part.
Mhm.
It's about focusing on inner strength,
Okay.
not like external circumstances.
So does he, like, give us some tools for that?
Oh, yeah.
Like, I'm thinking of that bit where
Yeah.
he talks about looking inward for good, right?
Yeah.
And he compares it to a constantly bubbling fountain.
Yeah.
What's that all about?
That is such a great image. It really shows the stoic belief that we all have, like this inherent capacity for good, for virtue. It's like this wellspring inside us. And through reason and self-control,
Yeah.
we can tap into that strength
Yeah.
even when things are tough.
So it's about like
Yeah.
cultivating that like inner peace,
Yeah,
that sense of being like
Yeah.
grounded no matter what's happening outside.
Exactly. It's a lot like
Okay.
mindfulness practices today. Finding that stillness amidst chaos.
He also talks about how everything's interconnected, right?
Yeah.
Like this idea of living in harmony with nature and like some kind of cosmic order.
Yeah, that's where you see like the influence of some of the earlier Greek philosophy. So
Okay.
the Stoics believed in this logos,
Okay.
this like rational principle
Mhm.
that governs the universe, connecting everything.
Okay, so they saw the world as like
A grand design,
grand design.
and
yeah,
we're all part of it.
all a part of it. But doesn't that make it hard when like bad things happen?
That's
Like it's all part of this plan.
mhm.
How do you deal with like suffering and injustice?
That is a huge question.
Yeah.
And one that Aurelius wrestled with too.
Mhm.
But, for the Stoics, it wasn't about
Oh.
liking everything that happens. It was about accepting
Mhm.
that some things are just outside your control.
So, okay.
Yeah. There's actually this like darkly funny
Okay.
story he tells about the philosopher Heraclitus.
The one where he dies covered in mud
Yes.
after writing about the universe burning up.
That's the one.
Yeah.
And For the Stoics, it's this reminder that even like brilliant minds, right, are still subject to nature, and death is a part of that. But it's not something to be afraid of. They saw it as this natural transition, emphasizing making the most of the life that you have.
Right.
Not like dwelling on the end.
So acceptance is key.
Yeah.
But honestly, like, how much of this can we actually apply to our lives, right? I mean,
it's a different world.
Between work deadlines and social media and everything.
Totally.
It feels like we're a million miles from ancient Rome.
I think that's what we're here to find out. Yeah. I mean, Aurelius's world was different, but human nature, hasn't changed that much.
Right.
So what stands out to you so far?
Yeah.
What feels useful? Even if it's like just a starting point.
I think what strikes me is this idea of...
It's like self-awareness, you know?
Yeah.
He's always
constantly examining
his thoughts and his motives.
Yeah.
It makes me think that even if you don't like buy into every
single idea,
Stoic idea,
right,
that self-reflection seems pretty valuable.
Oh, absolutely.
Wouldn't you say?
Yeah. I mean, Stoicism, it's all about taking responsibility for your inner world. And honestly, in our like age of distractions, that might be more important than ever.
And he spends a lot of time on the virtues, right?
Absolutely.
Like justice, self-control, courage. That seems like...
It's a high bar.
A pretty high bar, though.
It is. For the Stoics, virtue was like the path to true happiness.
Okay.
Called eudaimonia.
Okay.
And it's not just about being like nice. It's about like living
in line with reason and your role in this, like bigger picture.
But what does that even look like today? Like it's hard to imagine.
And would the modern day Stoic be like walking around with their smartphone?
That's a great question. And maybe that's exactly what makes Aurelius so relevant. He wasn't like some perfect sage. He was a guy figuring this stuff out amidst like real pressures. And I think that struggle, that like striving to live well despite challenges is something we can all relate to, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So we've got these like core Stoic principles, but Aurelius's writing is so vivid. It's full of imagery and stories. What are some of the details that like really stuck with you?
Let me think. One that comes to mind is this method he describes for like understanding things. He says you should create a like definition or description of like whatever you're facing to really see it clearly in its substance, in its nudity, and its complete entirety. And then you should name it and break it down into its parts.
So it's about like stripping away all the like noise and hype to see the like bare bones of what's going on.
Exactly. It's like a mental decluttering technique, you know? You apply to like challenging situations or objects or even your own emotions. By breaking things down, you can like gain a clearer perspective. Less influenced by like knee-jerk reactions.
It almost sounds like a precursor to like cognitive behavioral therapy.
Oh yeah, definitely.
You know, where there are parallels there.
Identify and challenge your like negative thoughts.
It's all about taking control of your mind instead of letting your emotions like run wild.
There's this passage where he talks about looking at things from a wider perspective. You know, seeing what kind of universe this is and the role that like everything plays in it. It's like he's encouraging us to like
to zoom out. And see the bigger picture. Our place in the cosmos.
That's so...
that's classic Stoicism, connecting your individual life to the vastness of the universe. It helps like put things in perspective, you know? Your problems, even the big ones, can seem smaller when you consider that grand scheme of things.
And that can help us deal with like
the
ups and downs of life.
Exactly. It's an antidote to the anxieties that come from being so focused on ourselves. So I'm starting to see how these like Stoic ideas could be like helpful even today. Yeah, me too. I think what we're seeing in Meditations is like a framework for living more intentionally.
Okay.
And that's something that never goes out of style.
No, it doesn't. Okay, so we've gotten a taste of some key Stoic principles, but there's so much more to uncover in Meditations.
Oh, absolutely.
We've got, practical advice, ethical dilemmas, and some honestly, seriously thought-provoking ideas.
Yeah.
So, are you ready?
Yeah, I'm ready. Let's do it. As we kind of go deeper into Meditations, it's striking how much Aurelius emphasizes virtue. He's constantly reminding himself to strive for qualities like justice and self-control.
Courage and wisdom.
Right.
It's like he's holding himself to this insanely high standard.
Yeah.
Even in his private journal.
It's definitely intimidating.
Yeah.
But is that part of what Stoicism is all about?
Yeah.
Constantly pushing yourself toward excellence.
Yeah.
Even if you never quite reach it.
That's a great point.
Yeah.
The Stoics, they believed that virtue was the ultimate good.
Okay.
And that the pursuit of it was its own reward.
Okay.
It wasn't about achieving some perfect state.
Right.
It was about this continual striving.
There's that quote where he says, the best way of avenging thyself is not to become the wrongdoer. It's such a powerful reminder that fighting fire with fire just creates more fire, right?
Exactly. Instead of stooping to the level
of those who harm us. The Stoics believed we should maintain our own integrity and respond with virtue.
Okay.
It takes incredible self-control.
Yeah.
Especially when we've been wronged. But it breaks that cycle of negativity.
It makes me think of that Gandhi quote. An eye for an eye only ends up making the whole world blind.
Yes.
But Aurelius was an emperor.
Right.
I can't imagine how many people must have been trying to manipulate him or take advantage of him.
Yeah.
Talk about a test of those Stoic principles.
And that's what makes meditation so fascinating.
Yeah.
It's not, just some theoretical philosophy.
Yeah.
It's a real person grappling with these ideas in a high-stakes world.
Yeah, for sure.
You see him actively working to detach from things, knowing that they're temporary.
Right.
There's this one passage where he talks about how everything is in this constant state of dissolution and change.
Okay.
It's all in the process of breaking down or dispersing.
So he's deliberately reminding himself that everything changes.
I think so.
To loosen his grip on things.
Yeah. To find more peace.
Find more peace in the moment.
Yeah.
Is that how he dealt with the pressures of being emperor?
I think it was definitely a key strategy.
Okay.
The Stoics believed that by meditating on the impermanence of things, including, power and status, we could free ourselves from the anxiety that comes with clinging to them.
It's ironic, right?
It is, a little bit.
You'd think an emperor...
You'd think he'd be the most attached.
Would be the most attached to power and prestige.
Yeah.
But Aurelius seems almost determined to
to free himself
from those attachments.
Yeah. But, that detachment, that recognition of the fleeting nature of even the most important things.
Okay.
That allowed the Stoics to focus on what they believed truly mattered.
Okay.
Virtue, reason, and living in alignment with nature.
We keep coming back to this idea of living in harmony with nature.
Right.
But what does that actually mean?
That's a good question.
In a practical sense.
Yeah. Is it just about
just going
for walks in the woods?
Yeah, going for walks in the woods.
For the Stoics, living in accordance with nature meant aligning our actions with reason and virtue.
Okay.
Fulfilling our role in the world.
Yeah.
Contributing to the common good.
So it's less about literally being in nature.
Right, exactly.
Okay. And more about
it's more about living a life guided by reason and purpose.
Guided by reason and purpose.
Yeah.
Okay. Aurelius also talks a lot about accepting what we can't change.
Yeah.
But how do you accept things like injustice or suffering?
Yeah.
Especially when they feel so wrong.
This is one of the most challenging aspects of Stoicism, no doubt.
Yeah.
But the idea is that by accepting the things that are outside our control, we free ourselves from, like unnecessary suffering. It's not about like condoning injustice.
Right.
It's about recognizing that our energy is better spent. Focusing on what we can influence, our own responses and actions. Yeah.
It's about finding that inner peace.
Yeah.
Even when
surrounded by chaos.
That you can't fix.
And that's where, those Stoic practices we talked about earlier come in.
Yeah.
Reminding yourself of the bigger picture.
Yeah.
Using reason to guide your choices. Focusing on your own virtue.
All of this sounds great.
Right.
But I imagine it takes a lot of practice.
Yeah.
To actually live this way.
Yeah.
Any tips on, like,
how
to even begin cultivating that Stoic mindset?
Had some pretty practical advice. He suggested starting each day with like a reminder of your Stoic principles. Maybe write them down or meditate on them or just like simply reflect on them for a few minutes.
So like setting an intention for the day.
Exactly. It's about like consciously aligning yourself with those values. Priming your mind to approach challenges from that perspective. He also emphasized the importance of like being honest with yourself about your motives. Like really examining why you do the things you do.
That kind of self-reflection can be tough.
It can be.
Isn't it kind of scary?
It is.
To really face your own shortcomings.
It takes courage.
Yeah.
But the Stoics believed that self-awareness was like crucial for growth and progress. They saw it as the like foundation for living a more virtuous and fulfilling life.
There's that quote where he says, everything which is in any way beautiful is beautiful in itself and terminates in itself, not having praise as part of itself.
Right.
Neither worse than nor better is a thing made by being praised. It's like he's saying, true worth
comes from within.
Not from seeking validation from others.
Yeah, external validation. It's such a powerful idea, especially in like our social media driven world. The Stoics believed that true value was inherent in like virtue, not in, external recognition or approval.
So it's about like focusing on
being a good person. Yeah.
Not just looking like one.
Exactly. Finding satisfaction in aligning your actions with your values, regardless of like who's watching or applauding.
Yeah. It's about that inner alignment, that sense of living authentically.
Yeah. For all his talk of like reason and logic, one thing that stands out is how much Aurelius emphasizes like kindness.
Yeah.
He repeatedly stresses like treating others with compassion.
Yeah.
Even those who've like wronged us.
Yeah.
That's one of the most beautiful aspects of Stoicism. It's emphasis on like love and forgiveness.
Right.
Aurelius reminds us that we're all interconnected, part of the same human family.
There's that line.
Yeah.
The intelligence of the universe is social.
Yeah.
Accordingly, it has made the inferior things for the sake of the superior.
Yeah.
And it has fitted the superior to one another.
It's a beautiful reminder that we're not meant to go through life alone.
Right.
We're social creatures, and our well-being is interconnected.
Yeah. That compassion, that like recognizing our shared humanity is essential for like a fulfilling life.
Yeah. We've
covered so much ground here.
We have.
Virtue, self-control.
Yeah.
Accepting what we can't change. Living in harmony with nature. The importance of kindness.
Yeah.
And the power of like self-reflection.
Self-reflection. Is there anything
is there anything
else we should highlight?
Highlight before we move on.
Yeah. I think one of the most empowering takeaways from Aurelius is this. We always have a choice.
That's a good one.
No matter our circumstances,
Yeah.
we always have the power to choose.
Our response.
I
love that.
It reminds me of that line.
Yeah.
Waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be. Be one.
Perfect example.
So the call to action.
Yeah, it is.
A reminder that like we can embody the principles we admire.
Yeah.
Even in the face of challenges.
Even when it's hard.
It's a powerful reminder that
Yeah.
we have, like
Yeah.
agency,
Yeah.
even when things feel completely out of control. Absolutely. And that might be like the greatest gift of Stoicism,
Okay.
this realization that we have the power to like create a good life,
Right.
no matter what obstacles we face.
Yeah. You know, one thing that keeps like popping up in meditations
Yeah.
is Aurelius's focus on like death. It's
Oh,
not exactly light reading,
right.
but it makes you wonder, like, how did the Stoics
Yeah.
view death?
Yeah. It's
Was it something?
It's interesting, right? They actually saw death as like
Right.
a natural part of life,
Oh.
not something to like fear or avoid.
Okay.
In fact, they often like reflected on death as a way to appreciate the present moment
Okay.
and detach from like things that don't really matter.
So it's like by acknowledging that our time is limited, we can like
Right.
focus on living more fully right now.
Exactly. There's that line where Aurelius says, "Do not act as if thou were going to live 10,000 years. Death hangs over thee. While thou livest, while it is in thy power, be good."
Right.
It's a powerful reminder that, like, we shouldn't waste time on things that don't matter.
But doesn't that get kind of
I know what you mean.
depressing?
Yeah.
Like if everything ends, what's the point of like
Right.
striving for anything?
I think the Stoics would say that
Okay.
meditating on death actually makes life more
sure.
meaningful,
Right.
not less.
Okay.
By recognizing like
Yeah.
impermanence,
Yeah.
we learn to like appreciate each experience more deeply.
So it's about finding that balance.
Yeah.
Accepting that
Accepting that life is finite,
life is finite.
but still embracing it fully.
And embracing it fully.
Yeah.
There's that passage where Aurelius talks about seeing ourselves as part of something much larger.
Yeah.
Think of the universal substance, of which thou has a very small portion, and of universal time, of which a short and indivisible interval has been assigned to thee,
Right.
and of that which is fixed by destiny, and how small a part of it thou art. It's like he's encouraging us to like
zoom out
and gain like
and gain some cosmic perspective.
some cosmic perspective.
It's that classic Stoic move,
Yeah.
widening the lens, you know,
Yeah.
seeing your life in
Yeah.
the context of
Well, you
the
know,
entire universe.
the entire universe.
It can be humbling,
Yeah.
but also like freeing.
It's like that Carl Sagan quote, "We are but a speck of dust suspended in the sunbeam."
Exactly.
Yeah.
Recognizing the like
Yeah.
vastness of the universe
Yeah.
and our place within it can help
Yeah.
us detach from like our own small anxieties
Right.
and find peace.
Okay, so we've talked about like the Stoic view of death, living virtuously and being present. But what about
Yeah.
good questioniness?
Yeah.
Did the Stoics even like
Yeah.
good question?
That's a great question. They didn't reject happiness,
Okay.
but they understood it
Yeah.
differently than we might today.
So how
Yeah, for the Stoics,
okay.
happiness wasn't about like seeking pleasure or
Yeah.
avoiding pain. It was
Right.
about living in accordance with
Okay.
reason and virtue.
So it's more about living a good life
Yeah.
than just like
Than just feeling good.
feeling good all the time.
All the time.
Exactly.
They believe true happiness.
Yeah, or
Yeah.
called eudaimonia.
Eudaimonia.
Came from like
yeah.
aligning yourself with
Okay.
the rational order of the universe
Right.
and fulfilling your purpose.
So it's like happiness is
Happiness is like a byproduct of living well.
a product.
Yeah, not the goal itself.
That's a great way to put it.
Okay.
It's about like focusing on the process,
Right.
doing the right thing rather
Yeah.
than like obsessing over
Right.
outcomes or external rewards.
Okay.
Yeah.
Which is very different from a lot of like
Yeah.
modern self-help.
I mean,
That
yeah.
promises like
Right.
easy happiness
Easy happy.
or quick fixes.
Yeah. Quick fixes.
It does feel like the Stoics
Yeah.
are offering a
I think so. A more challenging,
challenging path.
but
Maybe
ultimately more fulfilling.
one that's ultimately more fulfilling.
It's definitely not the easy route,
Right.
but there's wisdom, I think,
Okay.
in recognizing that
Right.
lasting happiness comes from
Okay.
cultivating like inner strength,
Okay.
virtue, and purpose, not from like
Right.
chasing fleeting pleasures.
It makes me think of Viktor Frankl,
Yeah.
who said, man's search for meaning is the primary motivation in his life.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Finding like meaning and purpose,
Right.
even in the face of suffering. The Stoics believe that was possible for anyone,
Oh.
regardless of their circumstances.
So as we
Yeah.
wrap up this deep dive into meditations, what are
What is
some key takeaways?
Yeah, some key takeaways.
For our listeners.
Yeah, to apply to their own lives.
To apply to their own lives.
I think one of the most important is to focus on what you can control.
Okay.
You can't control external events.
Yeah.
But you can control your thoughts, your actions, and your reactions. It's a powerful shift in perspective.
It's about choosing to focus on
your inner world.
Your inner world. Instead of getting swept up in the chaos of the external world.
Yeah, the external world.
And by doing so, you can
you can find peace.
Find peace.
And maybe even happiness. Regardless of your circumstances.
Regardless of your circumstance. Another takeaway, I think, is the power of
being present.
The Stoics remind us that the
past is gone.
The past is gone. The future is
uncertain.
And all we really have
is
this moment.
Savoring each experience, appreciating the beauty around you, and making the most of the time you have.
Right.
That's the Stoic approach to life.
And finally, I think Aurelius' emphasis on virtue is a powerful reminder that we can all strive to
be better.
Be better.
Yeah.
To live more justly, more courageously, more wisely.
It's a call to action to embody those principles you admire and make a positive impact on the world.
So even though Aurelius lived centuries ago, his words
they still
hold up today. He offers this timeless path. For
navigating
life's complexities. And finding meaning.
Yeah, even amidst challenges. And maybe that's why Meditations continues to
resonate
with
people across
cultures
and time periods.
It speaks to something fundamental about the human experience.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Into the world of Marcus Aurelius and Stoicism.
Yeah.
We hope you found it insightful.
Insightful and inspiring. Yeah.
We got some great resources linked in the show notes.
Check them out.
If you want to explore further.
Yeah.
Until next time.
Yeah, until next time.
Keep seeking wisdom.
Keep seeking.
And remember, virtue is its own reward.